Hey, what's up, guys? Brian Barrera here. This is kind of like a part two. I kind of wanted to touch down a little bit on what else happened with the Jacksonville Jaguars because a lot of cool stuff besides like drafting Trevor Lawrence or in the '90s having some great players that I really admired and I still follow today, like Fred Taylor, Jimmy Smith, Brunell, Mark Brunell. There's some cool stuff the Jaguars have been doing lately that kind of goes towards what I was talking about in the first video about the rookie running backs. But I wanted to make this video more about Bill Belichick, more about what I'm seeing from their head coach Liam Cohen, and also from the general manager James Gladstone. I call him Jimmy with my friends, like, oh yeah, our GM Jimmy Gladstone, but no, his name's James Gladstone. But yeah, like I kind of want to touch down on one, so that way I touch down on that, which is why I made it a different video or a separate video. But yeah, one thing I forgot to mention in the first video about experience. How many times have you worked with that vet where you ask them if you're their if you're their boss, or you've worked with or even a newbie, someone who's in the company 6 months to a year? You tell them like, hey, did you train that person, and or did you put that person in line? Did you put that person on the line? Did you put that person like by themselves today? Oh no, they have no experience. Nah, you know what, man? I think you made a mistake because that person doesn't even know this industry. You hear that stuff left and right. And I forgot to say that in the first video, so I'm kind of continuing this. And that first video was going to end anyway, so I had to go over it anyways. But yeah, just to finish that part of the video was that's what happens. And that's a huge red flag of when you talk to them and they tell you that kind of stuff, when they say, you know what? Like, yeah, I said in the video, I called that person, they didn't answer when they didn't call that person. In fact, that person called them 15 times or met them in the place where they said they were going to meet or they wanted them to meet and they didn't do it. But the big one is the big factor is when they say experience. When you hear someone say, nah, I didn't put them on the machine because they're not experienced enough. Nah, they're not ready to be left alone because they're not experienced enough. Or you tell them, hey, we have two projects that are due right now. This person's been here about a year. You've been here for obviously 5, 10 years. Why don't you do one and give them the easier ones so they can start? They say, yeah, we can do that. Then a couple of days pass by or a couple of weeks pass by. You ask them, you say, hey, what happened to those projects? Yeah, that person's not ready. They're inexperienced. But once again, we go back to that trend analysis when you're seeing how the company is trending in a downward spiral. It might be small incremental, small decreases year over year, but it becomes a big picture when it's 5 to 10 years. And when you hear stuff like that, like, nah, they're not experienced enough. They're not experienced enough. When that person keeps saying that, it's probably because they're gatekeeping. So I forgot to talk about gatekeeping in the first video. It's all about gatekeeping. But I'm starting to see that these NFL head coaches, they only have one shot. It's a huge carousel in the NFL for head coaches. It's a huge carousel. If you're not successful, if you're not seeing wins the first 2, 3 years, they get rid of you right away. Sometimes now after the first year, or Urban Meyer halfway through the first year, right? Because of what he was doing. But you're starting to see that trend that these coaches, man, they got to make an impact right away. So they watch what other people have been doing, other coaches, other GMs have been doing, and instead of mimicking it, they watch it and make it into their own. And that's why I'm jumping into the next part of the video about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know I sound like a homer right now, but it's just exciting when you follow business so much and you start seeing your favorite team that has been the laughing stock, one of the laughing stocks of the NFL for such a long time. I'm telling you, I walk around with a Jaguars jersey and I hear what? When I hear that, I know it's someone's gonna say, "What the hell? I didn't know there was Jacksonville Jaguar fans." I hear that all the time. I've been hearing cool things lately since Trevor Lawrence came to the Jags. I've been hearing people say, "Hell yeah, T-Law." I've been hearing people say things like that. Travis Hunter right now. A lot of people like Travis Hunter. One cool thing that I do hear quite often, which is pretty cool. I've heard it like 5 times, a couple times in Vegas on the same day. It's different people. I heard someone from far away say Duval, which was super, super cool, which is even funnier because our head coach Liam Cohen, when he at his introductory press conference, he tried saying Duval and he was so out of whack. He was just like Duval, right? But yeah, I hope I don't become a meme for that. But anyways, yeah, it's really crazy because I'm seeing some of my favorite business practices get done with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And one of my best business practices is discipline, especially with top tier talent, discipline with that top tier talent and talking to them when their performance starts to decline. That's one of the main things that I do that I've done, and I teach my clients to do that as well. Is if you sign a huge contract with an employee and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, talk to them, have a conversation with them. You know, sometimes a change of scenery is best. Sometimes Sometimes a pay cut is necessary. Sometimes they just need to hear it so they can elevate because they're getting too stagnant. Or sometimes their wife or their wife might be having a baby, or they might be having a baby, and they're just not the person that they normally are when they're 100%. So many things can be happening. All you gotta do is talk to your employees. You gotta talk to them, your colleagues, your bosses, the owners. You gotta talk to people. You gotta have those difficult discussions in order to move forward. But one of the things, so I'm bringing that up because there's such an inhumane population when it comes to just letting people go and not talking to people, and just having so much resentment towards them behind their back for giving them that big paycheck or giving them that big payday, and then regretting it without telling them that you regret it. Especially with bosses too, who like want to hire a specialist and they hate the fact that they're gonna have to pay the specialist more money than they're getting paid. But anyways, let's go back to football. I can go into that later. There's so many things that you need to talk to your employees about. And I don't know, I wasn't in the room. I don't know how James Gladstone and Liam Cohen talked to Tank Bigsby, but I'm a big Tank Bigsby fan. I actually drafted him this year in my fantasy football league. I traded him because I got a pretty good offer for Justin Fields to do a straight up trade, and I did it because this person needed running backs and I needed a quarterback. Um, but I'm a pretty big Tank Bigsby fan. I love his name. I love the way he plays. Yeah, I'm really excited. I thought he had a great last year. But once again, we're talking about those paradigms, right? And also, too, the discipline that you're going to need to run your organization. Even though I'm a Tank Bigsby fan, even though he could be a starting running back in probably half the NFL right now, the Jaguars pulled a Bill Belichick, in my opinion, and they traded away Tank Bigsby because the Philadelphia Eagles wanted a complimentary running back to Saquon Barkley just to manage his payload. Also, too, just to make sure if he gets hurt, they have someone who's really good to be a backup. And they traded two draft picks for him. The Jacksonville Jaguars got 2 draft picks. But that's not the only time the Jaguars did this. The Jaguars also signed, I believe, earlier this year, last year, they signed Fred Johnson from the Eagles, and they traded him back. And then also, too, at the beginning of this year, they made a trade with the Saints. They played a scrimmage game with the Saints, a preseason game. And then after that game, or maybe during that game, they were like, hey, why don't we trade a couple players? We want this person. You want this person? Well, let's make that trade. So I forgot their names, but it got me fascinated. I started looking at Belichick all over again. Like, Belichick, how many draft picks? 'Cause I know that Belichick was huge on draft picks, right? Huge on them. But what I really started noticing was how Belichick traded players in their prime. And I thought he did it a few times, but no, he did it quite a bit. And it might have been on Grok where I did this. One second. We'll just stick here. But yeah, so New England, man, you're talking about draft picks. From 2000 to 2023, he averaged 7.5 picks per year, right? That doesn't seem like that much. But then you jump into, I want to go 2011 to 2023 and look at these draft picks. Total picks 2011, 9, 7, 7, 9, 11, 9, 4 because of the Brandon Cooks trade. And then 2018, he had 9. There's obviously more years. But man, like, it's just crazy. Crazy like how there it is right here. 9, 10, 10, 8, 10, 12. He averaged 8.5 picks per year. So if you look at the late 2010s, when they went on their second dynasty, 9, 11, 9, of course, 4, 9, 10, 10, like, man, they just start Belichick just drafts like crazy. He really does. Look at the versatility that he drafted too. Defensive backs 30, defensive linemen 26. This is from 2000 to 2023. Offensive linemen 26, linebackers 20, wide receivers 15. High bust rate in round 2, better success later. This is off the stuff that I put up my 5-tool employee framework inside of Grok and in Copilot. I use ChatGPT too, but it remembers a lot of stuff that I said. So right here it says high bust rate in round 2. So he doesn't draft them early. He drafts them later based on the system that he built for Tom Brady off precision, route running, watching videotape, game tape, knowing the referee's a rule book, knowing the playbook. Tight ends 12, Gronkowski, Hernandez. I mean, that's crazy. Running backs 10, barely drafted early, preferred committee backs, like I've said. Quarterbacks 9, specialists 5. Look how many times he traded down or to trade up. 29 trades downs and 15 trades up. That's crazy. Sweet spot was rounds 2 to 3. Most trades occurred in round 2 and 3. He often flipped late first round picks for multiple day 2 picks. compensatory picks, right? Compensation picks. Again, no one knows the rule book like Bill Belichick does. Patriots earned 25 comp picks during his tenure. That means they let people walk in free agency, right? So Belichick rarely overspent in free agency, preserving comp value. Future value strategy, frequently traded picks for better future picks. Example, in 2010, he traded a third rounder for Carolina's 2011 second rounder. Never traded in the top 10. Despite QB needs, Belichick never made a top 10 move. He trusted his board and avoided desperation plays. That is crazy. So then I said, okay, what have the Jags done this year? Because they've done multiple trades. Last year they traded Cam Robinson, their offensive lineman, their left tackle, which was a bold move, but they knew they weren't going to make the playoffs and they wanted to trade him. They traded Tank Bigsby for a fifth and a sixth round pick. This is a really good running back. They got a fifth and a sixth round pick from. Then they traded from LA Rams to the Fred Johnson. I'm sorry, I said earlier they traded him back to the Eagles. I messed up. Or maybe they did. I don't know. Then Riley Patterson trade. But yeah, so they have 13 draft picks next year. 13 draft picks. Jags have never done that. Maybe they haven't, I forgot, but I've been a fan since 95. I'm sorry. They got the NFL in 95. I've been a fan since 97, 98. But yeah, if you look at this, like that's just crazy how they have 13 draft picks. Now, that also, remember, in the Belichick world, that also gives you an ability to trade these draft picks for better draft picks. So since they have so many round 7 draft picks, are they going to trade a couple of them to get a 6th round draft pick? Now you look at, they have a lot of round 3 draft picks right here. Are they going to trade one pick in the 3rd round, just one pick in the 3rd round to get maybe 2 more in the 4th and 5th because they don't have that much in the 4th round? Or are they going to wait till the draft day trade to do that? But yeah, this all started because Tuden, they want to put Tuden into the secondary running back role because they trust him. They want him to be that back. He's very talented. They want to put him in that role. So that made Tank Bigsby able to be traded. They wanted to trade Tank Bigsby because they saw what they wanted to see out of Tuden, who was a rookie running back. And that's what I'm saying. When you do an evaluation of your staff from top to bottom, this might sound a little inhumane, especially in the cultural world, which I truly, truly believe in. But it makes certain positions dispensable. It really does. If you're having headaches, if you're having some players or some employees who are a headache, who are just not turning the corner, you've tried getting them with HR, you've tried getting them training, you've coached them, but they're just not wanting to work there. They're just not fitting your culture. They're a cancer. This gives you the ability to not have to put so much into that employee that you have to put them in a position where you depend on them too much, and they have it on you, right? They have something on you where they know that you need them and they know that they could take advantage of their position of leverage. And we don't want to be in that place. You want the people that you depend on to get paid well, to believe in the culture, to believe in your strategy. You want that to happen. When you have employees that are not interested, who are just there for their ego, or you hire them because of their ego, by you understanding every employee, every position that you have, and understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, this allows you then to adjust the playbook a little bit. All right, that's it, guys. That's it for me today. We talked a lot about the rookie running backs. James, I call him Jimmy Gladstone, my Jags. Hopefully my Jags, I think they hired a really good young GM and also really good head coach. I think that we're going to be around for a long time. But yeah, that's it, guys.